And my favorite part where I get to fling the door open and admit everybody and pretend that I see them rushing through the doorway, all like furiously, their little feet like up in the air, cartoon style, like
Yes, all the
everybody running
dust.
to get in, everybody running to get in at one time. And I was so busy blabbing. I don't know who got in first. It might have been Heather. It might have been Donna. I'm not sure. I'm thinking it was one of the two of them because I saw them come into the waiting room first. So I think they be, and Donna's on camera, so I'm going to say it's Donna. I'm going to give her the prize for, and you win absolutely nothing except our undying gratitude. There we go. All right. So while others are getting settled in, I'm just going to do a couple of very quick announcements because you did not come here today to see me. And so let me just get the ball rolling and then we can move on to more interesting things like my amazing guest today. I'm so excited. So, welcome back. If this is your first time here, welcome, welcome. And if it's not your first time here, welcome back. We did take a little brief hiatus after we did the USDLA Public Policy Week because we're getting some other exciting things going in the background. And I'm only one person. So, we took a little tiny, tiny break. So, we're back today. In just a moment, I'm going to turn things over to Allison and Tammy, because that's why you're here today. But I do want to remind you that coming up in June, we have our national conference. If you have not already registered, if you have not already read about it, please go to the website and check it out. I will drop a link into the chat for you um, in just a moment after I let more people in and do all those things. I will give you a link in just a moment, but please join us for the conference if you can. It'll be in St. Louis, as you see. We have amazing featured speakers like former Navy SEAL Don Mann. We have Joe Salustio, who is a local attraction because he's there at Lindenwood University, right there outside of St. Louis. And we have our very own Robbie Melton. And if you have never met Robbie Melton, you must meet Robbie Melton because she is a force of nature. And as she would tell you, life is good. So please come try check out the conference. While you're there, you'd also get to meet and celebrate with some of our amazing award winners, which CILC has been a past award winner. I don't have the full list, but I know it's more than once. Maybe Allison can fill us in a little bit more later. But we do every year have our amazing awards. This year it's going to be a luncheon because we were told that more people wanted to participate, but having it at night didn't work for everybody. So we're trying something new this year because that's what we do at USDLA. We continue to try new things and we hope that we inspire you to do the same. And finally, I have to say a quick thank you to all of our amazing sponsors and partners and friends. On the screen here, you see our gold and silver sponsors. If you work with any of them, please reach out to them, say hello, find out what they've got going on, tell them what you would like for them to have going on. They love your feedback. They love to talk to all of you. And if it's somebody you don't recognize on the screen, please check it out. We have a full range of services, hardware, software, platforms, all sorts of different people who help the full range of services in distance and digital learning. And I am not going to leave out our bronze sponsors and other friends and exhibitors. So please, again, too many for me to name. I would be cutting into way more of Allison's time. So please just take a look at all of the people on here and go check them out. That's all I have to say about that. So now I am going to turn things over to Allison and Tammy. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about them. And you notice I popped a special little extra goodie there on the side, and Allison's all excited about that. I know, because I didn't tell her I was going to do that. So, but I love it. I am a total book geek, nerd, whatever, have way too many of them. So I was so excited when I saw the book was coming out, and now it is out. And so I'm going to turn it over in a moment. Allison Mitchell and Tammy Mooring are both from CILC. Allison is the director of partnerships and engagement, and she is lives up to the engaging name. It's kind of dangerous for the two of us to be in one space. So when they come to when they come to the conference, this could get a little exciting, but in a good way, in a very good way. So before joining CILC as Director of Partnerships and Engagement, Allison held a variety of leadership positions within departments of learning in art, history, and university museums, one of my favorite places to be. In these roles, she supervised the design of multiple distance learning studios, as well as the development of the supporting interactive virtual learning programming and training of affiliated staff and experts. more people that want to come in. Allison, you're just so popular. I knew you would be. And Tammy as well. Tammy's on screen now too. Great, because Tammy's over there multitasking as we do in the virtual world, and she's probably got like, I'm picturing like the NASA command center. She's got multiple screens. She's got everything going back there. You'll learn more about that in just a few minutes. To finish up, telling you more about Allison, though, she's presented in a series of national and international conferences to discuss the implications of integrating distance learning in museum settings and diverse learning environments. She's actively published scholarship on the topic. Most recently, she was co-author and contributing artist of the book you see on the screen, Museums and Interactive Virtual Learning, which came out just not that long ago, 2022. Mitchell also serves as co-host on the newly released podcast, Why Distance Learning? And if you have not subscribed to the podcast, what are you waiting for? Don't do it right now. Wait, listen to Allison, but right after the webinar, go and subscribe because I don't want you to miss any of this. So one more thing. Let's talk about Tammy for just 1 second because she's the Director of Member Relations and she manages the overall member operations, providing support, training, and mentoring to content partners and educators. In her role, Tammy is helping CILC grow and expand its impact for CILC and content providers, as well as educators and students. So everybody, she helps everybody, basically, is what that says. Before coming to CILC, she spent over 10 years in museum education, working at various museums, including the Minnesota Historical Society. She told me a fun fact about Minnesota history the other day. So I know she knows it all. She knows it all. That's what I'm gonna say. She's also presented at state and national conferences on the importance of virtual learning, and she is also one of the co-authors of the book that we mentioned a moment ago. So with that, I am going to stop sharing, and I am going to turn things over to Allison and Tammy. And thank you both so, so very much for being here today.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. It's so fun to be with you always. And it's so great to be with all of you. Thank you so much for that great introduction. Tammy, I am now excited and nervous all at the same time and ready to jump in if you are.
Yes, Valerie put a very high pedestal up there. So
So we're both hoping to live up, and that is our goal today. We want to make sure that everyone knows that as you all know, because it's distance learning friends that we're chatting with, that we always love to be interactive. So we at CILC are a nonprofit. We are celebrating our 30th year this year, and we are the one-stop shop for live virtual field trips with museums, science centers, national parks, hall of fames, historic sites, and so much more. So we always like to try to come together as a community at the top of the program, just to ask you if you're comfortable. Oh, and thank you for the anniversary messages, Valerie. We also just like to ask if you are comfortable, share what your favorite field trip was. Maybe that was something that happened when you were younger. Maybe it's connected to your school. Maybe it's with one of the clubs or organizations you're connected with right now, or maybe it's something you organized. Go ahead and drop that into the chat if you're comfortable. But Tammy and I always like to start with a little bit of the reasons why we're doing what we do. Not only do we love distance learning, but field trips and being able to visit informal spaces of learning has always been something that I've been drawn to. One of my favorite memories is I'm here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So close to me is the Morris Arboretum. I went there with my family. My mom actually let me take a hooky day. So she just took me and my sisters, and we were able to spend the whole day outside. I thought it was like the craziest thing to do something outside of school at that time. So that's one of my favorite field trips or experiences. Tammy, do you want to share yours before we look to the chat?
yes, I'd be happy to. So I grew up in a small town in southwestern Minnesota where like Iowa, Minnesota, and South Dakota all come together. And so when I graduated from high school, I actually graduated a class of 38, including the foreign exchange student from Switzerland. So I always like to point that out. But when we were younger, to go on a big field trip meant that we would go up to the Twin Cities, which was 4 hours away for us. And we would ride a bus. And I'm not talking like a charter bus, it's like the regular school bus. So we got on at 5 a.m. And seventh grade was the cool year because it was the science year theme. And I remember getting up at 5 a.m. and going all the way up to the Twin Cities to the Science Museum. And one of the exhibits was about bats. And you got to hang on a bar, be upside down as a bat. And I still have some of my most memorable pictures with my besties of us hanging upside down as bats. But it made me think about I had to get up at 5 a.m. to do that. With distance learning, I could visit the Science Museum at a much better time and not be a seventh grader up at 5 a.m. with an attitude and not liking to be around people. So, but I see we have some great memories in the chat. Allison, Donna said the zoo for sure, live and virtually. Love the zoo. Catherine Claire said their most memorable field trip was going to the local orchard and learning about how they made apple juice and applesauce, which sounds so fun. I actually want to ask Catherine Claire, are you like a very particular person on your apples? Because I'm an apple snob. So like I love the idea of an apple orchard field trip. Valerie mentioned the Thomas Edison Historical Labs. That sounds so cool. And we also have another amazing person that joined us today that said taking students to Tennessee Aquarium / Ruby Falls. That sounds so fun. I love aquariums. And the idea of going to Ruby Falls, I'm going to probably look that up while Allison talks. So
Yes, I was so excited. Aquariums, Ruby Falls. And I like that it's also taking the students too. So it's always fun when that's a fun adventure. So thank you all so much for sharing. And yes, the applesauce is so exciting. I remember doing an event like that once. So I hope yours tasted really, really good. So we love hearing all of these wonderful field trips, these moments and opportunities to connect in outdoor spaces and outdoor places, spaces that are different from what you might see every day. So we like to start each program now that we've gotten to know each other a little bit, just reminding everybody that we just want to acknowledge the spiritual and ancestral homeland where CILC's flagship is located, which is in the state of Minnesota and connected to the indigenous land of the Dakotas people. So we like to always acknowledge that. That's where Tammy's located. I'm located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we always like to acknowledge that I'm situated on the ancestral and spiritual homeland of the Lenni Lenape. So we just like to take a moment to start our programs like that. We also want to just give you a little bit of some information about CILC. Like we mentioned before, we are the one-stop shop for live virtual field trips with different cultural, science, art, performance art centers all over the globe. We are able to work with different members that are connected to K through 12 schools, lifelong learning organizations, residential homes, healthcare facilities, libraries, and community spaces. We also are able to work with individuals not only through our wonderful live virtual field trip library where they're able to request all of our different programs, but we also work with educators to help support virtual exchange events as well. So you can see a little bit of our numbers, but we wanted to play a little bit of a video. You won't hear any music. What we're really doing is just giving you an opportunity to see a little bit of some of the videos that we've taken throughout the year to give you a little bit of insights into who we work with. So as you do that, we'll just tell you a little bit more about our content providers and why we do what we do. So CILC partners with over 200 content providers that come from all different types of institutions and fields of study. What CILC helps support them do is create live experiences that help engage students or learners of all ages into different hands-on activities, interactive conversations, ways to dive deeper through experiments and demonstrations. Our hope is to be able to ignite a curiosity for passion through having these outside experiences that come in different formats. Now, after the digital pivot, which is so wonderful in 2020, we can work with so many different groups, support so many different spaces, so many different environments of learning. And we really are so grateful for all of those that we've been able to impact over the past 30 years. Now, how do we do that? Like we said, we have our three main audience groups, our K through 12 groups, where we work to make sure that any virtual experience that you have that's live will really enhance planned curriculum. We have our content providers who we partner with from all of those different institutions that were mentioned to make sure they're really able to design something that encourages everyone to jump in and get active in the learning process. And also, of course, help showcase all of their wonderful collections, living and non-living. And then we also work with lifelong learners, who we like to say is anyone 18 plus. So anyone 18 plus can join into all of the learning fun, from CTE adventures with the career and technical education professionals we can connect you with, to individuals that might just want to come together as a group and be able to learn about a topic or theme or revisit that space that they maybe have visited before. And then we do this in three big buckets. So we have our virtual field trip library. That's where we have over 2,300 programs that can be requested and scheduled at the time that's most convenient for you and your group. For some, that might be a 38-minute time period in their class. Maybe that might be on a Saturday afternoon if that's when your community group comes together, or it can just be at a certain day and time to fill a really fun professional learning day for you and your organization. The other space that CILC has to be able to help support individuals connecting in this digital landscape is our virtual exchange experiences, which we center in our collaboration space. There are three different pathways which we'll jump into to help individuals get started, connect, and even matched with groups to be able to really become global citizens, sharing different opportunities, projects, and working out different ways to raise their voices and awareness in different topics. And then finally, we have digital learning events that take place in our streamable series, which we'll jump into. All of those streamable series are for K-12 as well as adult learners and are completely free with registration, which happen both weekly and monthly. But I'll let Tammy talk to you a little bit more about some of these insights, because we want to leave time to be able to answer any questions and tell you a little bit more about how you can get involved. So Tammy, I'll hand it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Allison. Well, if you jump to that next slide, Allison did a great job with kicking it off and telling about all the amazing things that we have to offer. And of course, we're able to do this mostly because of the amazing content providers CILC has. So as Allison mentioned, we have over 200 plus content providers. Up on the screen, you'll see two great ones. On the left side is Mote Marine Laboratory down in Sarasota, Florida. And they provide a variety of science-based programs, bringing you directly into, some of them are in their amazing studio, some are in front of their Shark Tank that they have with them. And then on the right side, you see is the University of Nebraska Memorial Hall Museum. They go live actually into their gallery. So you can see they have a nice giant cart that they're pushing around, but they're able to show you the various animals in the past that were in Nebraska and so much more. We, of course, will give our opportunities for our content providers to expand their connections beyond the physical area that their community is, and of course, get their outreach far and wide with that. You'll also see on our next slide all of the content providers that are currently on the CILC website, and this is just a glimpse of some of them that are out there. Like I said, I mentioned two, but you will see that we have the Smithsonian's that are on there. International Wolf Center, of course, is in Minnesota. The Penn Museum, which we have an amazing partnership with, that they provide programming every Friday with us. The National Park Service represents around, I think, 15 to 20 national parks. You can go anywhere from, Allison's nodding her head, so I know I got my number right there. So we can go from anywhere from the Southeast to Zion National Park, all the way up to the Indiana sand dunes, and check those out. But they have a variety of programs out there. Keep in mind that 30% of the programs on the CILC website are absolutely free, thanks to these federal organizations out there. So I always tell people, follow your money. So we all pay taxes, follow that money and take advantage of all those great things with it. Of course, for our learners, these programs have a variety of things to think about. They are flexible. So if you as a teacher come in and say, I want this to be as an introduction to a particular topic, or I want it to be as that accumulate at the very end where I'm going to test my students, make sure they're set and ready to go as a fun review before our tests that we have. That can be done. The more information you provide as an educator or as a member of CILC to those content providers, the better they can make it. They're interdisciplinary. They're 45 to 60 minutes long usually, but they can be customizable to fit the bell schedule, which is the most important schedule if you're in a building, we all know. And then also, they're based on a date and time that works best for you. So the CILC website does time zone change. We all know that time zones can be big and scary, especially when you think about something called springing ahead and daylight savings time. We're going through that this weekend. We do not look forward to that. But the website does not care about that. It does all the changes for you. So you can definitely put it in for your time zone and always be, as I call, central centric, because I live in the central time zone. I feel it's the best. So that's the one that I always look at through eyes. But definitely they can be tailored to fit your needs and flex it around. 95% of them are like that. There's a couple that may be at a set date and time, and those are because they're bringing in an expert. It's a one-time thing happening that they can't change it. For instance, if you're going to talk to an astronaut up in the space station, that astronaut probably isn't going to abide by your classroom schedule, but they're going to make sure it's at a time that works for a variety of time zones for you to connect and enjoy that program with it. So those are always great. Along with our interactive virtual field trips that are based on your date and time that works best for us, we have an amazing collaboration space. And it has an opportunity for students to connect to another group of students. It's finding your match.com, your pen pal, that forever connection that will make an impact in students. Nothing's better than to see that students know that they're the same and uniquely different than other people at the same time with that. So CILC has our collaboration space, and we have 3 ways for people to connect. Group to group just means that you're finding that one-on-one pen pal. A scheduled educational event allows you to connect to an expert and talk among the various groups. So students not only are talking to an expert, but they're talking in front of other students, and they're talking together at the exact same time, which is very important. And then we have a matchup event. And we're actually on the last day of our big matchup event, which is Read Around the Planet. CILC connects teachers from around the world and their students to another group of teachers and students to do a collaboration project around reading. So we had our 23rd year this year. We connected students all the way from Canada to Ohio, New York, California. Some of them got a little tricky in the time zones, but we were able to do that, and we connected them together, and they had some great connections. And it's open through all grades. I always like to emphasize that we've been in the past been able to connect people 4th grade to 4th grade. And we also done it where we've put kindergarteners with seniors as like big buddies, little buddies system. What a great way to kind of connect and push, carry on that connection to reading in a variety of ways. It's also a great way if you are teaching like a second language or want to help your second language learners. We've paired English as a second language to for elementary students, and then they've connected with high school students that are learning Spanish for the very first time. And it's a way to kind of check each other's language while you're learning a great topic with that. So we definitely love collaborations and read around the world. So we talked about our virtual field trips. We talked about our collaborations. As Allison said, we have a digital learning festival opportunities, and CILC has 2 live stream series that happen all the time. One of them is our Community of Learning event, which happens at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 12 p.m. Central, since that's the best time zone. It happens Tuesday through Friday, and we have each day has a theme to it. So Tuesdays is art and storytelling. Wednesdays is STEM. Thursdays is history because we throw back on Thursdays. And then on Fridays, we have a partnership with the Penn Museum. And they're going on in my earbud because I'm connected to them at the same time. But for the Penn Museum programs, Mr. Kevin, who's the amazing presenter, makes sure that all those programs are like a make and take. So right now they are designing a garden in my right ear, and they're going to be designing that out on paper. They're able to implement their plan into action. We've done mosaics, they've done lamps, they've created oil lamps, sea monsters, which is always great to see the mythical creatures that they created. And then we always have amazing students and teachers that share those pictures with us. So it's like a giant CILC fridge for us every Friday with all the emails that come in. So Allison, thank you, Allison, for putting the link to cilc.org/community for you to join those. They're definitely designed for our K-12 community. We have a series designed for our upper grades and our lifelong learners, which is Roam from Home. We broadcast the second Tuesday and third Friday of the month on a variety of topics. We just did a great partnership with Central Michigan University, where we had their international students join us and talk about the country of where they're from, their culture, and what it's like. So we got to go to Ghana, we got to go to Spain, and I learned about Mongolia on another one, which is really cool that they're nomadic culture, and more people are going back to that style of living, which is really cool to learn. Those are, like I said, geared toward lifelong learners and the high school audience and above. Great way to interact and learn more. With all those programs, CILC has all different ways for our members to get involved. So we have our interactive virtual learning programs. We have our professional development, which we're doing right now, and also great opportunities. We have our stream learning series, which Allison will show the collaboration state. And then if you have a variety of ways that you're going to be using CILC, we have ways to customize packages with the content dollar banks and carnival packages that if you have a grant or money set aside in your budget for it, CILC can really help partner with you and take off the admin stress and also create themes. So Allison mentioned at the very beginning, CTE programs. Big thing that people are looking into. We can find those programs for you, base it off of your curriculum, put that all together. And so all you have to do is work with the teachers and say, hey, these are them out there. Let's schedule a date and time, and everything else is taken care of, which is a big hurdle to get around. So we've worked with amazing charter schools or schools that have learning as STEM as a core, or their United Nations school where they have those kind of goals in mind. So those can be customized to fit your needs. But I'll let Allison talk about the next couple of things that CILC is looking forward to and how you can get involved.
Yay. So lots that we have, absolutely. And like we said, we serve all different types of groups. So we have our K-12, our content providers, and our lifelong learners. So our lifelong learners and educators, these are the member benefits that you're checking out right now. While we work with a lot of K-12, what Tammy was just saying works really well for healthcare individuals working in lifelong residential communities, as well as anyone that's working in community groups. So we're able to really tailor experiences for what you're looking for. And CILC, we are a nonprofit, and what we want to do is always make sure that everything is accessible to you. So one thing that we do is make sure that all of our educators, our members that are coming from our community groups, our healthcare facilities, and our senior living facilities, they all have access to CILC completely free. So membership, like you see here, I have a QR code that's on the screen, as well as what we just dropped into the link, is completely free. This gives you access to the 2,300 virtual field trips that we talked about that are in our library, as well as the opportunity to have a 101, a CILC 101, just to learn our database a little bit more. give you a little insight in what it's like to have your own personalized CILC account, and also allow you to have access to Tammy and myself and our team to be able to work through any specifics that are connected to you and your team that you might need some help with as it relates to content, distance learning, technology, and any of that IT support that you might need in your organization or your school. What we also want to remind everybody is outside of our free membership, as Tammy just mentioned a bit ago, is that we do have program packaging with all of the different program providers, content providers that we work with, as well as the different program options and all of the different fun paperwork that comes with scheduling and all of the fun paperwork process that comes with the payments. We actually really work to streamline that through our different program packages. So one option is our Carnival package, which we suggest is great for small and medium-sized organizations, schools, and communities. This allows you to have different tickets that will take you to different your network will be able to book programs using those tickets to be able to enhance whatever they're wanting to do with their groups of learners, whether that dive deeper into a subject or introduce something new, or just meet with an outside expert to think about those applied skills. The other thing that we have is a content dollar bank. So that is an opportunity with each one of you having an account. If you're in a really big organization or you have a number of individuals that you know will really be able to benefit from the virtual field trips they'd like to schedule, any one of those that have a price, you can basically create a flex account. So any content provider that has a program that has a price associated to it, you'd be able to have a unique code and schedule that program. So your network doesn't have to have all of that different paperwork ushered to others. And Tammy just clicked, thank you, Tammy, just dropped those links right into the chat space. So please feel free, you can click those links and learn a little bit more about those program packages. Again, Tammy and I are always happy to answer any questions on how that works and talk to you a little bit about how that's been really successful for a number of organizations and schools. The other thing that CILC wants to do outside of our streamable series is we really like to be connected to our member base, both our educator, healthcare worker, community group leaders, that come in through our one form of membership, as well as our content providers. So each month, we actually hold a professional development workshop where these different communities of practice can come together, talk about different activities that they've been putting on in the classrooms. They might talk about different challenges, and then they talk to individuals that are within their field or from outside experts that will talk about new tools, different solutions, or ways to think about how you can use digital tools in your classroom or in your coursework to inspire learners to get involved in areas that they may never have thought about before, whether that's connected to a curriculum or just because you're a human and you're interested in new things. The other thing that we mentioned before is we also do have a podcast. So our podcast, Why Distance Learning, is exactly what it means in the title. Why not? Why distance learning? We got together with all of these amazing professionals that are connected to using distance learning as a medium. And we ask them about their experience. We talk about the different techniques, the tips, the tricks that they have, and then they can share with wonderful communities interested in using distance learning in their own practice. These usually run 35 to 45 minutes. However, we do love everybody that comes on to the podcast. So we often go maybe a little bit over than that. But it's a really exciting opportunity to hear from so many different career professionals in this industry that are doing so many wonderful things. And Valerie, when you were talking about Tammy earlier with all of the screens she has around her, it made me think of James and the wonderful place that he has in Utah with all of the different screens around as well. So just one of the episodes you can jump into. And then finally, if you're interested in thinking about CILC, how can you get involved? What are you interested? How can you learn more from us or what we're doing or being involved in something we're doing? These are some areas we're always seeking more support. So of course, all of you that are interested in distance learning has such a unique perspective. So we're always open to learning more about how we can help support you and get you out there telling everyone about your wonderful story. So volunteering your time from a podcast recording, or even if you're just really interested interested in some of the work we're doing, we always love to share that, and really appreciate any time. We have partnership and sponsorship opportunities from our different events that we hold each time, as well as different ways to be working closely with K through 12 schools, different healthcare organizations, even different working with different lifelong learning groups. So we're always looking to be able to expand and really work together with individuals, because we believe collaboration is a really, really big way to bring the biggest ripples of impact. And then finally, there's so many wonderful minds that are here today and also that might be watching the recording. And we're always interested in being able to spread all of the wonderful research, knowledge, content experience that you have. So if you're interested in learning more about what it's like to be a content provider, please, please be in touch with us. We will drop a link into the chat to make sure you know how to get to that space as well. Because with our content providers, like we mentioned, not only do we have the opportunity to support anything they need with professional development workshops, as well as provide IT support if that's not there for them within their organization, we also offer consulting. We really focus on how someone can plan to design as well as plan to have a virtual learning experience within their organization, whether that's scholastic or professional. We also work closely with content providers to think about how we can best market them directly through social media, as well as through our weekly newsletter that goes over to our over 60,000 members that are across the globe. And then finally, CILC, like we mentioned, we've been here for 30 years in this interactive video conferencing space or interactive virtual learning space. So we have all of these wonderful content providers that we love to talk about because we have an amazing evaluation system that's set up into CILC, which makes sure that the programs that you're receiving match what you're thinking in high quality content as well as professional delivery, which in a live experience we know is super important. So what we do is make sure that we have that evaluation system, and then we take all of the different evaluations that are provided and completed by those that receive programs, and we actually create an award. So we have an award that happens annually to really call out all of the wonderful programs that have received those highest ratings, which is really a great way to be able to filter through and find some of those really amazing content providers. And then finally, like I mentioned a couple times, CILC is 30. So like any good 30-year-old, we are celebrating all year with a party each month. So here's a link to QR code and also the link to our CILC Turns 30 page. Right now we have just a couple of our events up each month. What we're going to be doing is featuring an amazing content provider during one of our regularly scheduled event programs that will just be highlighting different celebrations of CILC, from the partnership we have with that content provider, the idea of the content in which the program is about, and also just showcasing all of our wonderful members who are really the heart of CILC, helping share their stories, as well as be able to encourage others to participate in the wonderful programs our content providers have here. And then finally, we're so excited to be working with USDLA. And also, we are so grateful to be invited to kick off all of the wonderful Free Friday webinars that are going to be happening from now, starting today, into rolling up into the wonderful conference. And we are even more excited because as a CILC member, you can actually register for the USDLA conference with for 10% discount. So if you're not a member with CILC, don't worry. It's completely free. I promise. It sounds like that something is there in the background, but it's not. We promise. It's completely free. So go ahead. You can sign up, and then you can also go ahead and register for the USDLA experience. So you're getting all types of goodies coming into your mailbox or your email box inbox this weekend. And then finally, our very last slide is just a reminder of where you can catch up with Tammy and myself, and also our general info in case you heard anything here today that you want to pass anything along to somebody that you know would really benefit from what CILC is doing. We only have a short amount of time with you and wanted to leave some space for questions and also some organic conversation. So we'll leave this here just so that you know where to stay in touch. And if you have any questions or comments comments, please feel free to place that into the chat or into the Q&A feature. We'll drop the slides to be able to ask, to be able to speak directly. But I do want to see if Tammy, really quick, I know that we have two things going on at once, but if you wanted to add in anything I may have missed.
I can't think of anything else right now. I dropped a couple of links. There's a link right there to the Pinnacle Award. I encourage you, if you're just wondering kind of where to kick off or get started, sometimes the Pinnacle Award is an easy way to see what others are recommending out there. To get a Pinnacle Award, a CILC content provider has to have a 95% or above. So if they have to be on the Aon roll the entire year, not just one quarter or 2 quarters, the entire year, which is a pretty big thing for them to be able to do. So you can definitely check out some there. And we have a Hall of Fame also in there. So if you've gotten the Pinnacle Award for 10 years or plus more, you're part of that. So we have some pretty amazing content providers to check out through there, kind of look at the heads up with that. So definitely on that. And we're excited for USDLA and being in St. Louis. And June, it will be very, very fun. The Arch, all the great things that St. Louis is known for, amazing Italian food. If anyone's going to go there, it's really good Italian.
I'm just gonna hire the two of you to do all of the conference promotion, because that was awesome. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna let them go. Yeah, that's great. But thank you so much for all the, and please, yes, use the discount code. Come join us. If you have questions about the conference, you can reach out to me or any of the other peeps over at USDLA. We're happy to help you. But I know there's going to be questions, but I want to sneak in another thank you for the two of you being here. And in particular, one of the reasons that I wanted to invite you all back, because it's been a while since I've had anybody from your group here, was that for some people, when I was telling them about you coming, they were like, "Oh, K-12," and I was like, oh, but wait, they have a whole lot more." And so that's one of the beautiful things, and one of the reasons that I love that we get to work with you all at USDLA, because USDLA also, we have a little bit of everybody. And so now you're actually touching into some of our new constituencies, like telehealth, when you're dealing with your health partners and dealing with an increasing population of elders and people who need support with certain types of still learning or at least stimulating experiences. So I want to thank you personally for that, as someone who has an elder and friends who have elders going through similar situations. But I wanted to really highlight that, because I thought that was something that people probably did not know. They might think of you all as the amazing K-12 group, which you are and have been for 30 years now. But I really appreciated the fact that, you all are now reaching into these other spaces, and we can roam from home, and we can do all of those things. So, all right, I gave people time to talk. I gave people time to type. See,
Valerie, I
that was my method.
That in the individuals, that lifelong learners. Yesterday we had a Roam from Home event in which we were connected to the National World War II Museum for the program. It's our War II, Women in World War II, because it's Women's History Month, and today is International Women's Day.
Yay.
So that's a happy
and
way to celebrate.
I'm in New Orleans, literally 2 miles from the World War II Museum. So
exactly. So
say hi to
that
Maddie.
program at the end, we had one of the amazing lifelong learners said that they had joined the Waves during World War II, and she was turning 100 in April, and she joined on her 20th birthday to help serve this country during World War II. But it was amazing, and we were able to connect her with the World War II Museum to do an oral history. So after that, so they're gonna keep that connection going, which is so great. No matter where you are, even at 100, you can share your story and learn at the same time, which I love.
And it was interesting, to the same idea with our lifelong learners. We were just talking with some of the individuals we work with that are doing a CRN course, and they talked about their opportunity to use the collaboration space for those that are training to talk to professionals as well as individuals that they would be working with. So there's really a great opportunity to bring that intergenerational experience for those that are looking for that for their loved ones, as well as in their professional career with telemedicine and healthcare.
Yeah. So, but now you do have a question in the chat from, I believe it was Donna. I scroll back up.
Yes, yay,
Yeah,
Donna.
yeah, yeah. Asking about just for those who might not be in the chat or not able to access the chat right now. She was asking, do content providers get to practice before they meet with a class? Or if they have a new program, do they practice it with CILC first? How does that work?
Great question. So I'll briefly answer it, Tammy, and then I'll throw it to you. Does that work, or you want to dive in?
That sounds great.
Okay, cool. So the content providers, they can practice with us as many times as they'd like to. Tammy and I are here. We will hold hands as much as a content provider needs. It doesn't matter if it's a new program or if it's a practice program and they're trying something different. We are always happy to step into the role of both educator and student and also invite other content providers in. We do that because of course we love to work with everyone, with each content provider, but lots of minds provide lots of good opportunities to learn. So we can do that in an independent fashion that's set up at a time and place that's scheduled by the content provider, but also monthly. We encourage individuals that are content providers to come to those workshops that we hold the third Wednesday of each month. Sorry, I was about to say second, but it's the third of each month. And that will be where lots of content providers will be there seeking opportunities to ask questions or provide feedback. So we try to kind of build in two different mechanisms for them to really be able to run through their content and think through their delivery. But Tammy, please, if I missed anything.
Those are great to examine. We also have some of our content providers that sometimes try some new topics or programs during our community of learning events, just because they're a webinar style formats and they're free. So they teachers and students, if the program doesn't necessarily connect as much, it doesn't take a financial toll in any way on them. And if it's a webinar style, it gives them an opportunity to test some things out, the flow, those there before they would jump in and go directly from classroom to classroom with everyone being able to see each other. So those are a great way to kind of look. They're also a great way to taste test our content providers. So if you're like, oh, I wonder what that kind of particular topic is about or how they do their programs, going to that community of learning gets you an opportunity to test it, and then you can book a program directly with them.
Perfect, perfect. And I wanted to remind people that we are recording right now. So I know there was a lot of information. I will send out information about a replay, and you will have opportunities to go back and catch anything that you missed. And I'll also make sure that all the links that you all shared to get them quickly and directly into the specific space they want to go. All of that will be included in the email and subsequent follow-ups that we'll be doing. So I just want to remind people that yes, we're recording. So also if somebody you know would benefit from this and didn't get a chance to come today, you will get an email probably later today, unless someone grabs me with an emergency, with that link, and you can share it. Then you can share it out with other people, and they're laughing at me because we all live that world, right? It's like, yes, I'm going to do this right after the webinar, and then something happens, but that's that.
Friday's always the day to do it, where you want to get everything wrapped up before.
Exactly. So I'm checking in the chat. I don't see any other questions at the moment, but please don't be shy. The chat is free as well, just like membership at CILC. So you do not have to worry. I don't charge you by the word or anything like that. I will also say that this happens occasionally. I get a quiet group. I will stop the recording in a few minutes if we don't get any more questions in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself. We have a very small, polite audience today. I'm not worried about anybody just unmuting themselves and talking. You can do that. Camera on, camera off, whatever works for you. But I will, when I stop the I always have to say this because people think like, oh, I have to run away. When I stop the recording, I'm not kicking you off the lawn. You can stay for a few minutes and ask those questions that maybe you didn't want to ask publicly on the recording. That's okay. We accommodate all the introverts because I am one. So anyway, but I will pause for a moment to see if we have anybody else who would like to unmute and just verbally ask their question, or give you an opportunity to type it into the chat if that is your jam.
And Valerie, while
Otherwise,
they're waiting, we're
yeah.
going to there's the last minute one. I did want it to thinking of comfortable space and making sure what everything works for you. With our community of learning programs, we have partnered with the American Society for Deaf Children. We are now providing ASL with some of our programs. So definitely, if you know of anyone in the community of deaf of hard of hearing, or if you have ASL language classes that you want your students to try to test how well their language skills are, definitely they can look at those programs and check them out too. So
And
Awesome.
something that's really wonderful with that partnership is the idea of the language inclusion. Some just thinking about the lifelong learners as well. The more familiar you become with that type of language, with sign language specifically, it really helps with communication from younger to older to who might be in your community. So it's really exciting to learn more and more from that partnership. And that was something that was really fun to think about, how the lifelong learning experience is that ASL is just or any sign language, excuse me, can really just bring such an opportunity for so many to learn more and communicate with more individuals.
That's such a huge point because I actually had the opportunity about 2 years ago now, I think it was. I was presenting at a university and they had ASL interpreters. It was the first time I'd ever presented with interpreters, and it was fascinating. Of course, I had to have my training because it's different, and they want you to understand how it works and whatever. But I thought that was just so wonderful, and just that point of that. And again, some of these things are obvious to some of us, but not obvious. I say them because I know there's somebody who does not know, and that's okay. That ASL is used by so many other communities besides the deaf community. So a lot of families with neurodivergent children who perhaps are nonverbal or other things of that nature. There's a lot. It's such a growing community, and it's just beautiful to see how many other people are starting to offer it, have options like you're speaking about. So thank you for that. And also, are there any other? I know we could spend all day because it's gonna be like, oh yeah, we also have this because I've been around checking y'all stuff out. I will admit, personally, I sometimes am a little jealous because they don't have a classroom of kids and I want to play too, but I don't want to be that creepy person that's like lurking in the background. But I am when I go to museums. I go to all the kids' museums and science museums, and it does not bother me at all if I'm the only adult with no children. I get a little funny look by security, but beyond that,
But that's the best part about the live virtual field trips that we always say with CILC, that sometimes you just don't think it's not a space that you can go and visit every day. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in Nashville and you're like, oh, I know exactly where I'm going to start in the Country Music Hall of Fame because you've had this experience in most historic Nashville recording studio. And you're like, oh, we can start there. So it's just
yeah.
such an opportunity to kind of break down those barriers and get on site to fun places too.
It is. So do you have any other last closing tips, comments, reminders, anything you want to share before I end the recording? I'm not kicking you out, but before I end the recording.
Well, we want to thank you and USDLA, of course, for having us here and being able to talk a little bit about CILC and show that we're growing outside of K through 12. We also want to encourage all of you. Like we said, we know it's a Friday and we know it's in the afternoon where we find ourselves. So if there is any questions that pop up later, sometimes I'm like cooking dinner and I'm like, oh, wait, this is the question I want. So please feel free to use those emails anytime that you would like. Tammy and I love to talk about CILC, talk to you about what you need and how we can best support you, because that's really what we're here to do. We want to build relationships with you to support whatever you need and help you build that bridge to connect with a content provider or to a peer group or an experience that best fits you. So we look forward to connecting with all of you, especially at the conference. So please sign up, register. Yeah, yeah. And also connect with you in different ways to talk more about CILC.
Thank you. Thank you, Allison and Tammy, so much. And thank you, everybody who joined us today. And for my future friends that are watching this in the future on the video replay, because I know we often get a lot of people on Friday nights. If I get the video out quick enough, they like to spend some Friday night watching some video. So that's cool. But thank you again so much for being here. I will stop the recording, but please as Allison promoted for me, please consider checking out the conference, checking out USDLA membership. We have all sorts of options as well. Reach out to me. Also, if you have any topics you would like to see here in the webinar series, that's how we come up with the topics. Sometimes I just make them up, but oftentimes it's because some of you asked me specifically for a particular topic. And so I try to bring those particular topics to you. I see Dr. Camarana just jumped on. She'll actually be one of our speakers at the conference. So just a little shout out there. Anyway, but I will end the recording, but not kicking you out. Hang out with us here at the after party, and I'll see the rest of you at the next webinar.